Hello everybody and a very good morning to all of you. You are back on Good Morning Sri Lanka here on MTV Sports with me, Wasami Ismail, and I am joined in the studio with Ryan.
Yes, welcome back. Yes, welcome. How long has it been since we
It's been approximately about half a year, Ryan, since you and I have got together to do a show.
It's been happy. Well, I am glad to be here. It is a Wednesday, folks. Hump Bump Wednesday for some, but it's going to be an exciting morning. And it's the 10th of July because we have a very interesting person. But before we get to that, I think when you ask kids like what they want to be when they grow up, one of the number one answers will be, besides being a doctor, will be an astronaut or a pilot.
Yeah, well, astronaut is a bit of a tough one, but very regularly you get a lot of people looking in for how to become a pilot. Now, I've got experience on this at home because my brother happens to be a pilot, and since the time I was small, I can remember growing up at home with my brother collecting little ornaments and little toys of planes, and he dreamt about it the whole life, and he did achieve his dreams.
Well, that's good. I have to be honest, when I saw the overalls that pilots were wearing for the Air Force, I actually wanted to be part, and then someone told me, you are too short, Ryan. So these are some of the crazy questions, and hopefully will merit some crazy answers, but more importantly, a very good conversation with our wonderful guest. We are very honored to have with us inside the studio. He wears many hats. He's a writer, he's an instructor, he's an artist, he's a pilot, he's a
and
humanitarian.
An inspiration to mankind.
And an inspiration. Seriously, when I was reading about him, I came to the line that a lot of girls said after watching the movie, it could have happened to you. How do you raise a man like this? But anyway, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Good Morning Sri Lanka, and the warmest good morning to Captain Elmo Jayawardena. Well, welcome, Captain, to the set. Very privileged and very honored to have with us.
Welcome, Captain. It's really nice to have you here this morning.
Thank you.
It's actually an extreme honor for us to have you inside the studio. Of course, first question, because we kind of dwell on it at the intro about becoming a pilot. Did you always wanted to become a pilot?
No. I don't think that was in my mind at all at any stage in my life. It was I was a flight steward, quite happy doing that, and then I can see that I was an accident in getting into the flying fraternity, because one day one of the captains asked me, why don't you become a pilot? So I said, what do you mean? He said, no, you come next Sunday to the flying school in Ratmalana, I'll fly with you and see. I had no answer to give him, so I said, okay. So I went there, and he put me onto this little aeroplane, and he went up and told me to turn this way and turn that way, fly. I just did all that. And then we landed, and he got very serious and took me to a side and said, even if you have to sell your soul, go become a pilot. So I don't know why he said it. Probably he saw some kind of
I was about to ask, what did he see in you?
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I never asked him.
You never asked, okay.
But subsequently, in the years later, when I became an instructor and started teaching, sometimes you see a guy fly an aeroplane for the first time, and you have a feeling. You cannot really quantify why you're saying that, but you tend to think, no, he's got the raw talent to fly.
So there is such a thing as a persona, that once you see a person, you know that he's supposed to fly.
No, that's why I said you cannot put it down in paper. It's not that easy, but it's kind of a feeling, right? Like a football player, right? You may see a football player who's playing, or a basketball player, and he may not be the best player in the team, but you see the talent in him and knows what he can be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, because everyone says, right, that people has a calling. Everyone has a calling. Everyone has a path that they need to walk on. It's just that sometimes you don't see the path. Then it takes people to see it for you. So somehow it kind of strikes me as something like that.
Yeah, but you have to also understand one thing. Like, even if I take my writing, I mean, I'm not educated to write. I just write, right? But as long as you work hard at it and use a lot of discipline on it, then you definitely go to the maximum level you can achieve. A lot of people fail in that. As long as you work very hard at it, I think whatever you do, like your presenter, right? So there may be other presenters too, right? But maybe you're working hard at it, and that's why you're sitting here.
Well, thank you very much. I know Wassam has a brother is into the aviation. Did you have like a pressure?
Yeah, Ryan. My brother was actually in aviation, and Captain, when he was small, he used to collect these models and items and little aeroplanes and whatever he could find his hands on, and he was determined to become a pilot, and then later on he did end up being one. But there are so many people, Captain, who from the time they're small, they the dream of becoming pilots. And when we asked you the question whether you always wanted to be a pilot, you said no. But there were people out there who really wanted to. And sometimes they don't have the opportunity or the luck that you did. So what kind of advice can you give them?
Well, the thing is this, flying is a very serious game, right? And the only advice I can give is now, in today's context, you have to be qualified. Basically, let's say 1960s, I flew with GCO level. So 2013, you can't fly with A levels, isn't it? I mean, for the last 40 plus years, it couldn't have changed only 2 classes. Like in Singapore Airlines, every pilot I trained had a degree. Like you brothers from Singapore Airlines, right?
Yes.
He would have had a degree.
Yes, he does.
Yes, so that was the basic. So if you want to be a pilot, I think you've got to be properly qualified first, and then even if you fail to get a flying job, your degree might help you to fit into society with a better job or whatever it is.
Well, I suppose it's not just with aviation, Ryan. When it comes to any profession, unlike before, now they just look for all sorts of qualifications before you get into any job.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. It's just interesting that the path that you've taken. Before we get to what we, of course, would like our viewers to know more. How is it to be in an industry where you actually saw so much changes? Like you just mentioned about the educational background that you needed then to become a pilot, to what it is now, to the technology that evolved. How you look very young, sir, but considering how quick the technology was when it comes to the aviation
let me explain that. In 1975, when I first became a flying instructor, I was flying on tiger moths, the open cockpit, goggles. Right?
The one that we see in cartoons.
Teaching people to fly, and I was paid 10 rupees an hour.
10 rupees.
10 rupees an hour.
To learn how to fly.
Not to teach.
How to fly.
That was my salary. So if I flew 6 hours in open cockpit aeroplane, I made 60 rupees in 1975.
Wow.
Right. Okay. But the point is, the same time, people of my vintage, maybe they were in UK or America, people I ended up with in Singapore Airlines, they were also training, probably earning good salaries. What you got to remember is, I was training pilots at Ratmalana on a grass strip and earning 10 rupees, but I was learning. I was learning to teach in a very hard school. So later on, when I too sat in the same level as them, probably I had more experience, diversified in a very poor school at grassroots level that took me higher than them.
That's what they always say about pilots or workers from the third world country, because we don't have much. We tend to make do of what is available.
Exactly.
And once we get to that level, we can do more with the equipment that's available.
Yes.
But how is it, Captain, did it ever come to a point that you just told yourself, the changes are just far too fast right now, that we need to slow down?
No. It's the other way around. You see, when you start small jet aeroplanes, small propeller aeroplanes, then you go on to jets, the industry became highly technological, right? And you cope with it, and it becomes easy. It's like this now. You drove a car where you put the shutter down like this, right? And next day you're driving a car where you press a button and put the shutter down. Which one is easy for you?
But surprisingly, people still now do this.
It's as simple as that, right? Same way automatic gears, right?
That's right.
I mean, okay, so one day you drive a shift gear, and then the technology improves and you get automatic gear. So what is easy?
That's true.
It is true. Very, very simple. I mean, that's a very simple thing I can say for you, right?
but watching it all happen right before your very eyes must be an incredible experience. I asked this question when we were at the makeup room. Your creative side, that you said you have no training whatsoever. You were not trained as a writer, but your first book, Sam's Story, is one of the best read and most bought book by the publisher themselves. They said that. Is it because of those hours that you see such the planet in such a beautiful perspective that made you think of all these beautiful words to be put in paper and hopefully construct something, a story? Is that
no,
how it come about, or
no? It's like this. I mean, you cannot quantify all these things in letters, but you see, I spent a lot of time sitting in a flight deck. If you can just imagine, you flying, let's say from Singapore to Auckland, it's 10-hour flight. You sit there and you see the sun go down, and then you see the moon come up, and you sit there watching your instruments, and your thoughts are quite free, right? If I ask you, when did you ever get a chance to do that? Right?
I can't say ever because my boss will not be happy. I have some idle time.
So I was getting paid and I had time, right? So you get into the space cadet mode. That means nothing there. So you just think about ideas about books or whatever it is, and then you go and land there, and you are in a hotel room, right? You just take your computer out, you can put your thoughts out. Again, that's no problem. So there was a great opportunity to become a writer. And what I did was I wrote. I didn't write good books or great books or anything. I just wrote and hoped that somebody would read it. If nobody read it, it was still okay because I wrote. That's what I wanted to do. And I wish people would think of writing like that and say, I just write for the love of it. Now, when you go to sing, sometimes we all sing, isn't it? But you're not a great singer, right? Or somebody who can sing very well, but you sing for pleasure, maybe shower singer or whatever, right? In other words, we all have certain talents, and we use that. And the problem is when you don't use that.
Right. Captain, I have to say, I mean, this country knows you as a renowned and respected pilot, and now everybody knows you as a Gratian Prize winner as well as a writer. So what kind of things do you actually write about? I mean, when you were in that cockpit and when you had that free time, what really inspired you? What kind of stories did you really have?
Well, actually, I never wrote anything in a flight deck. I mean, it was just thinking, right?
Yeah.
But you see, I have a great advantage. If you take the books I wrote, one, Sam's Story is about poverty and the war, which we all suffered one way or the other. And the records of poverty are very simple for me because I run a humanitarian organization.
Okay.
And every day when I sit in that office, I see people who come there.
I'm really sorry, Captain, we have to interrupt you for a moment because we need to go in for a short break. But when we do come back, we'll definitely be talking about this a lot more. So don't go away. We'll be right back here on Good Morning Sri Lanka.